The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 8, Chapter 5, Ling from Another World. Ocellus. Hurt. Hungry. Hurt. Hungry. Hurt. Scared. Help. Please. Help. Please. Every single instinct that the foals possessed made them want to gallop back to Plainville as their host could carry them. But they couldn't do that. If they did, then they might lose track of one another. And if that happened, then how would they know if the bug thing had returned? So they tried, but so close together, the adrenaline fighting down, the moment of victory having passed. The foals jumped at every noise, panicked at every moving shadow. Once a cloud returned to cover the moon again, the four foals didn't dare to take another step until the cloud passed, even though Dinky and Snails could provide their own light. They came up with a new code phrase too, just in case. They vowed not to tell it to anybody else, no matter what. That way, they always knew who each other were. The sun was only a few hours from rising by the time they made it back to Ponyville. None of them were surprised to find every adult still awake and looking for them, turning the town inside out. The Pegasus Weather Patrol being organized by Rainbow Dash to head out and search for them. When they appeared, it was bare minutes before their families were on their own. The adults had at first worn looks of mixed relief and joy with anger, fury even, at the four of them being gone for so long. But then they saw what a sorry state the four foals were in, their costumes torn and dirty, covered in small nicks and cuts and bruises from scrabbling out of Green Grape's shed. That, and the fact that the four burst into relieved tears set aside any anger the older police focused only on the foals' fear. They were all taken to the nearest home, Pipsqueak's. Nurse Redheart and Dr. Stable were called to tend to their injuries. Fortunately, aside from more cuts and a few easily removed splinters, the foals were fine once they had been cleaned up. Dinky especially scrubbing herself thoroughly to get the now calcified monster goop off of her. It was more than half an hour before the foals finally calmed down enough to tell the adults what had happened. None of the adults had a name for the Everfree monster, none recognizing its true form, nor its ability to change its shape. But the Everfree Forest did have a plethora of monsters, and it was huge. Don't point down at the full story about what the monster could do and how they hunted them, disguised itself like them. Maybe somewhere else in Equestria it might have been doubtful, but the police of Ponyville knew what the Everfree Forest was like. The only thing strange about the monster had been its subtlety. Everfree monsters were usually large and loud, and very obvious about themselves. The adults fell to talking to one another about what to do about the monster. Dinky, Snails, Pipsqueak, and Twist didn't much care at this point. Everything caught up with all of them at once, and when the adults at last returned their attentions to them, they found the four of them all bunched together on Pipsqueak's living room floor. Pipsqueak nestled against Dinky's barrel with one of Dinky's forelegs over him. "Everybody all together now! Aww!" Snails on the other side with his neck laying over Dinky's own. Twist tucked in so she was laying both beneath Dinky and Snails' head, all of them asleep. No pony had the heart to move them. Bum-ba-dum-bum. Bum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Pipsqueak had been grounded after all, of course, once the four foals had waken up. Though the young colt didn't seem to mind he wouldn't get anywhere but school or home for a month. Snails hadn't been grounded since his parents had believed him when he said he hadn't known Pipsqueak hadn't gotten permission from his parents to trick-or-treat alone. They didn't think he intentionally helped them, but on the other hoof, it was several days before his parents or sister let him go anywhere without them nearby. Snails didn't mind that at all, though. His parents had even let him stay home for school for several days, which was good. He's pretty sure he wouldn't have been able to concentrate on class. Still, eventually he had to resume a normal life. The four foals all returned to school on the same day, and for each of them, the chance to see their friends again was a great relief. All the foals in class had been super interested in learning what happened, but Miss Cheerily had made sure that the foals didn't ask too many questions, a stress to the four of them that they didn't have to talk about the monster. The other foals in class, having heard about it, taken to calling it the Transformer, which seemed as good as a name of any, even if they didn't want to. But talking helped, so they ended up spending the entire day at school talking about what had happened, how they'd been stalked for an entire night by the Transformer, how they'd been able to duplicate any of them, and how it tricked it, revealing itself to fight it off. Snails was pretty quiet for most of the talk, though. He hadn't been able to get his mind off the Transformer these past few days. At first, and most likely because he was really scared of it, remembering all the frightening things it had done. But the Snails had been able to think past that. Just then, when the four of them had been able to defeat it and drive it away, the moment when Snails realized what he was looking at was scared and hungry. Not really a monster, just something that was forced to act like one. And it apologized. "Oh, I'm gonna get into so much trouble," Snails thought when he realized what he was planning. But he had to do it. After school, Snails didn't go home, though he knew he should have. He did ask his best friend Snips to stop by his house and tell him he was heading to Fluttershy's, though, which wasn't very unusual. He and a Pegasus that lived on the edge of town had the same special talent, communicating with animals. Even the specific marks on their flanks was different. Snails sometimes stopped by Fluttershy's home to see some of the invertebrates that she had, or help her with some problem related to insects, or arachnids, or some other animals that Snails liked a lot. I blame this fic series for making me enjoy using snails more often than Snips. Darn you, series. So it wasn't unusual for him to go there, but it wasn't true either. Instead, he headed out back to the farmlands around Ponyville, and into Green Grape's field again, though with the sun now shining overhead. There would be plenty of light for the colt to see with. The inventor had been out to his shed since the foals had fought the Transformer there. He dug up the little lair that the Transformer had made, pulling it from the ground, leaving it next to the shed until he figured out what to do with it. Out of the ground, it looked almost like a shriveled, rotten heart. Not the stylized kind that ponies drew on lots of things, but the actual heart, with the tongue that looked like a vein or an artery. Snail stared at the exposed lair for a moment, then tried on up to where the Transformer had broken through Green Grape's fence. Green Grape hadn't fixed that part yet. Part of the fence still lay on the ground. The edges where the Transformer had spat on the fence had calcified bits of green-black ooze, looking just like what his lair was made out of. Snail sat down on the vineyard side of the fence, staring beyond, into the Everfree forest that lay about 30 feet away. Even in the daylight, the forest twisting through boughs and gnarled roots looked scary. Some of the adults have ventured to the Everfree over the past few days, as far as they dared, trying to find a Transformer, but no pony had any luck. Which wasn't very surprising, given that it could change its shape. And though Snails was pretty sure it was a dumb idea to come out here, he wasn't going to be so dumb as to go into Everfree looking for it. No, instead he simply sat, looking in and waiting. After a few moments, he realized the Transformer might not be looking in his direction, might not know why he was there. "Hey!" he called. "Are you out there?" Snails waited, placing hooves on the lower rail of the fence. He was still for several minutes, but nothing happened other than the breeze that blew by. He heard some birds in the distance. The colt sighed. Just as he was getting up, however, he saw movement from the Everfree. One chitinous whole hoof appeared around the tree's trunk, the point caused by one of the holes digging into the bark a little. Snails backed away from the sight, even more so when the creature's head came out from the tree, turning slowly to look at Snails. Once again, its compound eyes had somehow managed to focus on him. He was suddenly struck by how very, very bad an idea this had been. The creature remained just as still as Snails. No, not just as still. Snails realized after a moment it was breathing heavily, but not easily. Every inhale seeming like a struggle, and every exhale making it shudder slightly. After several moments, another hoof came into view, but only to grab the tree, to hold it upright. "Snails," it rasped, voice high and dry, eyes wide. "Snails, help." Snails was frozen, paralyzed. He'd come out here because he knew the thing was hurt, that the creature needed help. But on the other hoof, there was the thing, the creature, the monster that had hunted him, tricked him, scared him. Maybe this was a trick too. Maybe he just wanted to feed on his pity. The creature's eyes fluttered a little. It let out a dry cough, letting go of the tree and coming around it, standing on four hooves just beyond the tree line, and only barely, its legs shaking visibly. It reached out one hoof to step forward, maybe, or maybe reaching out to Snails. Then its eyes closed. It fell over onto its side. Snails could just hear his breath rattling as it did. The colt was still for a few moments, debating eternally about what to do. Eventually, however, concern won out over fright, and he trotted forward. He paused a second longer at Green Grade's fence, but forced himself through. The colt found the creature lying on its side, breath coming in short, quick gasps. Its forked tongue was lying out of its mouth on the grass, twitching weakly, while the elytra on its back had opened slightly, revealing twitching wings. As Snails approached, the thing managed to open its eyes, but nothing more than that. "Help, please," it begged. "Please, Snails." Snails stared, his eyes growing wide. The creature, it wasn't just hurt. It wasn't just scared. Snails had seen animals die. Many of his animal friends were predators, after all, and he had to eat. Sometimes they get sick too, or just old. For insects or arachnids or crustaceans or whatever, and pass on. So Snails knew what a dying animal looked like. And the creature, whatever it was dying. "Please, help me." Snails huffed from one hoof to another, glancing around. It wasn't that he didn't want to help it. It was that the best he could think of to do was to feed it what it wanted. Give it love or joy or happiness or what else it needed. But Snails need that. Then it might grow strong enough to attack him, to drag him off into the Everfree and come up with some way to keep feeding on him. Keep him trapped forever in its lair in the Everfree forest. Maybe trapped in that place with that gunk it built its lair out of, crawling over a cocoon with nowhere to go. The cry was small and pathetic and weak, bore nothing but utter agony mixed with total inability to do anything about it. Snails looked down at the creature and realized that all the fear and panic for just now, they felt like worrying might be a trick, if it fed on by the creature, and hurt it more. Snails tried to calm down, but the fear of what the creature might do to him mixed with the worry about how it was dying couldn't leave his mind. There was another haggard gasp from the creature, and it started convulsing, legs curling in on itself, wings buzzing frantically beneath its elytra. The creature was definitely dying now. Snails could only think of one thing to help, one thing he could do, and he had to do it. Had to take the risk. He gulped a little of that, then threw himself forward, on top of the creature, grabbing hold of it. His hide was surprisingly pliable for looking like an exoskeleton. Closing his eyes, the creature had kept talking about love all nightmare night. So, Snails would try to give some to it. He thought about how much he loved his family. His father, Dewdrops, who was always calm and fair with him, who worked in the weather patrol and helped coordinate the weather across the Providence. Every gentle sour or sunny day that Snails had ever had, he thanks in part of his dad. He thought about his mother, Shutterbug, a nature photographer. With Ponyville sandwiched between Whitetail Wood and Everfree Forest, she never lacked for amazing shots, and she shared Snails' love of invertebrate animals too, helping him find new friends or taking him to her studio in Camelot, where they kept even more exotic animals. He thought about his sister Raindrops, the coolest, strongest mare he knew, who was always there for him, who always cheered him up when he was feeling down. It was also part of the weather patrol, but responsible for actually flying to the sky and making weather with her own hooves. He thought about all of his friends, Snips and Dinky, Bisquick and Alula, and Twist and Apple Bloom and Bebop and Scootaloo and Featherweight and Sweetie Belle, Truffle Shuffle, and so many more fools at school. Snails thought about all of them. He tried as hard as he could to somehow take what he felt for them, the joy he shared, the laughter he had, the love he felt for his family and friends. He tried to give that love to the creature, the Transformer, or whatever it was, because right now, he needed the love more than he did. Snails could always get more, but could the creature? And it worked. Snails could feel it working. It was like a pull, like stag across his pelt. Only instead of his fur standing on end, it was like something being pulled out of him. It didn't hurt, but it did feel weird and unpleasant, and he didn't like it. The creature needed it. So, he let it happen. Set aside how bad it felt, focused only on helping the creature. Hoping, and only when he started feeling his limbs shaking, started to feel really tired. He did start to wonder if maybe this was a bad idea. But the creature's breathing became more regular. Snails looked to its face and saw its tongue was once again hanging out, flirting and teasing the air. Or its emotions, he guessed. The tongue must have had something to do with it. After a moment more, it drew its tongue back into its mouth,
and instantly the pull on Snail stopped. He let out a long breath of relief at that, the unpleasant feeling of his soul being pulled on going away, even as the creature took in deep, steady breaths.
I don't need it more,
he said. The buzzing and hissing was basically gone from his voice, but his breath hissed a few times. One halfway to his mouth squeezed his eyes shut, tears apparent.
I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry.
The creature's dam burst and let out an anguished but released wail. Even though it didn't need it anymore, Snails grabbed and squeezed it just a little bit harder to let it know everything would be okay.
Ocelus,
the creature said several minutes later, when it finally calmed down.
My name is Ocelus. I'm a changeling.
The two were sitting facing each other, inside Green Grape's friends. The creature, Ocelus, being strong enough to stand and follow Snails' trot, since now that Ocelus was better, Snails didn't want to be any closer to the Everfree Forest than he had to be. There had been several minutes of silence after that. Save Ocelus, I am going to figure out the right pronunciation of this name, occasionally finding back more tears of relief and joy. This close, Snails realized he was actually taller than Ocelus, though not much taller. It was strange, but so afraid of a monster that he was bigger than.
I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got to wherever I am. I had heard stories that pools were opening on the surface, portals. Rifts that would swallow changeling, then that changeling would never be seen again. But I thought they were stories. I was part of a labor group under Hive Lord Pharanex, repairing one of the entrances to the hive from the storms. There was a flash, and then I was in that forest alone. That was, I don't know, a lot of sleep cycles ago.
Snails nodded, though something was bothering him. He was paying attention, but ever since Ocelus had stopped buzzing so much, Normal voice became clear. He'd been wondering, are you a filly? Ocelus's eyelids, it was strange that a creature with compound eyes had those, but it did, flared.
What?
It asked. Sorry, Snails apologized, ears folded down. I'm just curious. Ocelus was silent a moment, before giggling a little.
Yes, I'm a female naturally.
She blinked. Light green light flashed over her. She didn't look much different. A little smaller, maybe a little ankler.
I can be male if you prefer, though. It's not that hard.
Her voice shifted a little at that, becoming a touch deeper.
Or both, or neither.
Snails shook his head. No, that's okay. Ocelus flashed again, returning to her natural shape.
I'm just a worker drone anyway. I probably won't ever matter. Plus, I've only had a few molts since I was a nymph. I'm too young to have a brood, even if a High Lord wanted one with me.
Me too, Snails said. He didn't quite understand all of that, but he could make some guesses based on his animal friends. Though he didn't think he'd call any family might one day have a brood. He didn't think they'd like that.
Trixie swears you make one dirty comment.
I'm not thinking it, Trixie. I'm not thinking it.
Yes, you are.
Totally not. I'm sorry, is some pony thinking pervy thoughts? No, Mr. Braystar. Nope, not at all. That's fair.
You have quite a weird group around here.
Hey, you live here, Dinobot.
Swear.
There was silence between the two of them for a few moments. So, Snail said, do you eat love?
Ocelus nodded, though a pain look came over her face. I'm sorry,
she said, wings buzzing a little beneath her elytra.
I was in the forest for a long time. I don't know how long. I do need to eat like you do sometimes.
She pointed at her mouth and made chomping motions.
Chomp, chomp.
Snails noticed that despite her fangs, most of her teeth were flat, just like his. The fangs must have been good for threat displays then. Ocelus wasn't really a carnivore.
But I need love too. Joy or happiness tastes good as well. They can help. But I need love to live. I found your settlement a few days ago, but by then I've been driven mad by hunger.
She looked down, shaking her head.
I'm sorry. I thought that ponies liked being scared. That's what I kept seeing in town. Ponies being scared, but then feeling joy and happiness.
Oh, that's because Nightmare Night is all about being scary, Snails explained. But not too scary, not like, what you did.
Ocelot's eyes back up. I started to realize that, but by then I was just so hungry. I only saw you as prey.
Snails nodded to himself. That's okay too, I guess. If a wolf or a bear or something was really hungry, they'd probably see me as food too. Though I wouldn't really like being eaten. I wouldn't just let it happen. He paused a moment. Sorry about trying to shove a screwdriver into your eye. I was really scared.
I know,
Ocelot responded. She would know, too, since she would have been tasting his fear. The two were silent again for a bit, before Snail stood up. Okay, he said. I'm going to go to Firefly's house now. I told my parents I was going, and I don't want to be a liar. You can come too if you want. I bet you'd love to meet a changeling.
No!
Ocelot exclaimed, spreading wings wide and buzzing over her eyes in panic. Snails backed away a few steps of fright. Ocelot's no, calmed down.
No,
She repeated.
Please, Snails, don't tell anybody about me. Everybody in your town will hate me. Probably does hate me for what I did.
She hunkered down, her hose over her head.
What I am. What I see you as. Prey.
Snails frowned. I shouldn't keep secrets, he said, and I don't like lying to ponies. Ocelot looked up at Snails, pressing her front hose together.
Please. I don't know where I am. I don't know where my hive is. Maybe I can live here in the forest. But I don't want ponies hunting or chasing me or hurting me. Please.
Snails looked at her and then sighed. Okay, he said. I won't tell anybody about you, but what about food? You can't just stay in the Everfree until you go crazy and hunt ponies again.
Ocelot shook her head. I was only like that because I hadn't found any love for, I don't know, a lot of sleep cycles, like I said.
She smiled at Snails. Cole was surprised that it wasn't an unpleasant one, even with the fangs and knowledge that behind her mouth was a forked tongue about 2 feet long.
But now that I found Ponyville and you've given me so much love, I could go into your settlement and every day in disguise. Feed on love there, not as much as you gave, just a little here and there.
She went to the direction of Ponyville, her tongue flipped out like a snake's teasing the air.
There's so much love there, I never go hungry.
Snails was glad to hear that at least. Okay, but try not to look at a pony that's already there. If there's 2 of me trying around or something, ponies are going to get suspicious. Ocelot looked and then looked down, thinking. She flashed screen. Then Snails found himself looking at a somewhat lanky filly with a sky poop coat, pastel pink mane and tail, and aquamarine eyes.
I don't have to look like any pony in particular,
she said, turning around in place, the buzz now completely gone from her voice.
I can make up a disguise. How's this?
Shipping! Shipping! Snails then looked her over, then nodded. That's good. Though careful Miss Shirley doesn't catch you not in school when you look like a filly. Or cold, I guess.
Ocelot smiled. Okay, and I can meet you every now and again, once I make a new burrow.
She tried up to Snails a little stronger to him, to look him in the eye.
Just a talk. I'll talk to ponies as a pony, but since you know what I am, I like to be able to talk as myself, too.
That's fine, Snails responded. He knew certainly he'd be able to talk. To Ocelot more. She seemed nice, now she wasn't a scary monster hunting foals on Nightmare Night. He offered a grin. You want me fluttershy while you look like a pony? She's really shy, but she's usually better around foals than adults. I'll bet she like me a new foal. Ocelot brightened. Sure, she said, and the two tried it off. Snails took a moment to it as he glanced down at Ocelot. He was a bit taller than her. This was kind of weird. He had to admit carrying along with a pony that was really a changeling had been trying to eat him as friends a few days before. On the other hand, he made a new friend, and that was always a good thing. He definitely wanted to get more ponies to know about Ocelot and what he really was, though, but he could wait. There'd be no harm in that. Cute and sweet, and I like how this took elements of horror, mixed it with some good friendship moments, and played out really like a episode of the show with the kids. Kind of makes me wish that the whole thing with Thorax was done with the CMC over Spike. Yeah, I know, basically be kicking Spike again, but what can I say? I think the CMC would work better. My apologies. Oh, come on! That was like one of my better episodes! Even you liked it! Yeah, Spike, but But you got it. And I really enjoy the moral showing that sometimes people can be just scared and sometimes you need to come to an understanding. The fact that this was Ocelus was kind of a surprise, really. I'll admit, I stopped watching the show after season 7, mainly because I came to the realization that the season 4 finale was the best part of it. I mean, it had a perfect ending, had a perfect setup, it just worked. But that didn't mean I didn't keep in track. And yes, I did find out about the Student 6. Now, let me rephrase this. I'm not like certain idiots on certain boards, like you, we hate MLP, that want to go, everything after season 3 sucks, and all that crap, and you like it, you suck too, you're a big jerk, and all that other crash. If you like it, you like it. And if I watch it, if I do like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm not that type of person who tries to force my opinions down another person's throat, and I never will be. If you like something, fine. If you have your reasons, fine. I'll joke about it, I'll tease you, but I won't care. That being said, when I heard about the Student 6, warning signs flashed in my head. Gotta understand where I come from, though. I come from the 80s, where you had groups like Q5 that tried to say, we need to give the Ghostbusters Junior Ghostbusters, so that way the kids can have someone to relate to. And you all know that's a bit of malarkey. To quote JMS, I don't want to be the kid that talks to the Lone Ranger. I want to be the Lone Ranger. I don't want to be a bunch of Junior Ghostbusters. I want to be the freaking Ghostbusters. So yeah, when kids like that show up, I kind of have standards. If you want to appeal to me, you better be as cool as, say, Robin from the Teen Titans. Or match up to characters like that. You know, those type of characters, I've got high standards, and very few people actually reach that. Also, you've got to also be more like a shouting character like, say, Boruto, for me to actually care. So yeah. But hey, I don't mind reading fics about them. It might make me like them. It might make me look forward to them. Well, that was one Lunaverse story down. I was going to do Trixie's Game Back Girl Host, but then I found Crunchy Monkey Studios had done the whole series. So instead, I'm going to continue on going on a nightmare fix.
This is Trixie, just wanting to remind you all that Crunchy Monkey Studios is responsible for what fix coming up next. Run for your lives! Run for your lives! See you next time, audience.